Hey everyone, it's time for another live look at the astrology. My name is Katie Sweetman, and this is your look at the astrology for September 9th through 15th, 2024. So, I know last week we talked about the Virgo new moon, and we have, or had rather, we're just coming off of what's called a Sun-Saturn opposition. So every year we have these sort of moments where we need to check in with Saturn. And Saturn is this planet in astrology that talks about life and what we're building and what we're growing up to become, and sometimes where we need to make adjustments, and even sometimes when something's not working because we are, let's say, doing things that are not going to allow it to work, so to speak, to put it politely. So sometimes we can hit a roadblock with Saturn, sometimes we can get a no with Saturn, but actually sometimes we actually get a yes with Saturn. And Saturn, we need Saturn because Saturn helps us to build our lives, helps us to really work to make something real and make something solid. So now that we've had the Virgo new moon, we had it last week, we are now really in the energies of Virgo season, and Virgo is what's called an earth sign. Earth energy is all about, as you can imagine, Earth, our material life, stability and security, the things that we can touch, the things that are real. And now that we are in Virgo season properly with the Virgo new moon, we are in eclipse season as well. So that's really what we need to talk about, because as I record this, we are 1 week away from a lunar eclipse. Don't worry, eclipses are part of life. They herald new beginnings. I'm pretty sure if you've gotten married, had a baby, made a move, made a career change, and the other big milestones of life, I'm pretty sure the eclipses were not that far behind. But before I get too far along, I just want to reintroduce myself. My name is Katie Sweetman, and I'm an astrologer and psychic medium, presently located in the rolling hills of Central Maryland. And every week we gather live to look at the astrology. And you hear me say every week the astrology is 50%. You are the other 50%. But that's the thing about eclipses, which can sometimes be a little bit, but Katie, you said I'm 50%. But eclipses really speak to the forces that are greater than us. What are the forces that are greater than us? Time. I can't control time. I can control how I live time and my relationship with time. The seasons of life. That I can't control. Of course, I can change how I show up for the seasons of life, how I work with these seasons of life, and even, let's say, these greater forces. I know I'm going to say life and death, and I know the D word makes people, oh, she said the D word. But these are things that are bigger than us. So that's just to say that we have, like, every 6 months, like clockwork, a new or full moon, and sometimes we have 3 eclipses. It's typical that we just have 2. Every 6 months we'll have a lunar eclipse, which is a new moon, and we will have lunar eclipse, which is a full moon, and we will have a new moon, which is a solar eclipse. So we last had eclipses. We had a lunar eclipse, I think it was March 25th. And that lunar eclipse was in Pisces, Pisces on the brain. The lunar eclipse is in Libra, and then 2 weeks later, always 2 weeks later, we had a solar eclipse in Aries on April 8th. And this is the very same solar eclipse that was visible predominantly in the United States, but also Canada and parts of Mexico as well. And that opened up a new chapter. That said, over the next 6 months, we are working through XYZ. The solar eclipse on April 8th was in Aries, so it means that over the next 6 months, we're really on a collective and even personal level working through these themes and archetypes that have to do with Aries. New beginnings, initiative, taking action, moving forward, standing up for ourselves, being able to stand on our own 2 feet. Aries is part of the relationship axis with Libra, and Libra is on the other side of the zodiac. So it's also about relationships, how we show up, how we interact, how we socialize, how we negotiate and compromise, and how we strike the balance, and sometimes don't strike the balance between our needs and our wants and the wants and needs of other people. It's just a part of life. The zodiac actually is the wheel of life, meaning it teaches us on a deeper level about life, how to live, how to hopefully become a better version of ourselves. The zodiac is quite ancient, as you may or may not know, but of course we live in modern times, so we have to see how these archetypes are relevant to 2024 and our daily lives. We are actually, as I record this, starting to starting to wrap up the eclipses that have been back and forth between Aries and Libra, and this has been since April of 2023. The eclipse that we will have in Libra on October 2nd, so about 3 weeks from now, that eclipse will be the last eclipse in Libra for about 8-9 years, if I'm getting my math correctly. And then we will have one more eclipse in Aries that will be at the end of March. I think it's the 29th of March of 2025. So we are starting to wrap up the story that's been really dominant around, like I said, relationships, how we take action, and really, that's the thing about Libra. It's like we have to strike a balance. We have to learn how to negotiate. We can't be so Aries that we forget that other people exist. We can't be so Libra that we completely capitulate our wants and our needs and our desires. But we are actually starting to go into a new eclipse story, because in 2025, the beginning of 2025, the lunar nodes will change signs. I know lunar nodes might be a new term for some of you. These are 2 points in the sky. They are not physical points. These are points in the sky that make eclipses happen. They are where the moon intersects with the ecliptic. So if we have a new moon or full moon within a certain distance of the lunar nodes, we have, voila, we have an eclipse. So that's what's going to happen. In fact, what's going to happen a week from now, we will have a lunar eclipse in Pisces. This is just not just your garden variety Pisces full moon. It's a Pisces full moon that also happens to be an eclipse. So this is the first eclipse in Pisces, even though the nodes are not yet in Virgo and Pisces. This is like our preview. We are going into a new theme that deals with Pisces and Virgo. Virgo is the sign that's opposite of Pisces. I wanted to talk a little bit today about something called the mutable cross. And you're like, what on earth is the mutable cross? So in astrology, we have 12 signs. The 12 signs are the setting and stage for our lives. If you are to draw a circle in your head or even on a piece of paper, and then you draw a square within that circle, those 4 points of the square would line up with 4 signs of the zodiac. This is what's called a cross. So we have 3 crosses in the zodiac. We have the cardinal cross. We have Aries, Cancer, Libra, Capricorn. That's the cardinal cross. These are the 4 signs that initiate new beginnings. They talk about the seeds of life, the seeds of new beginnings, and the seasons of life. And then we have the fixed cross. This is Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And these 4 signs are the axis of matter, the cross of matter and the material world. So we live in material reality. We need to take care of our material needs. And these 4 signs talk about our material world, but not just money and goods, but what happens here in our physical life. We have life, we have death, we have new beginnings, we have things around value and worth, stability and security. And that's the final cross, the mutable cross. And this is Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. And I really wanted to highlight these 4 signs because they are very front and center in the second half of this year, in particular around this lunar eclipse on September 17th, so a week away. These previous two crosses serve a purpose. The mutable cross serves to help us to discover and understand life. So we have Gemini, which is the sign of learning and information, ideas, it's education, it's movement. But that's very rudimentary. It's not nothing against Gemini, but that's what the base function of the sign is. Then we get to Virgo. It's Virgo season. We just had a Virgo new moon, and now it's not just information, ideas, it's critical thinking. It's being able to integrate what you've learned. It's being able to connect the dots and start to make systems, whether it's systems of information, systems of our lives, meaning you've got a routine, a schedule. This is how your day-to-day life runs. And then we have Sagittarius. In Sagittarius, we will have a moon in Sagittarius this week. I think the moon's even in Sagittarius right now. So what does all these information and ideas mean? What does it make? What is the wisdom and knowledge? Sagittarius is the desire to understand our world outside of us, whether that means getting on a plane and going to another country, whether that means going to school, getting a degree, going to university or college, getting a PhD, higher education, whether you just need to learn about the world and know everything. And Sagittarius also professes. It's a fire sign. It talks about, look, I've discovered something. I want you to know what I've discovered. That's that energy and that push of Sagittarius. Pisces, the final mutable sign, but it's also the final sign of the zodiac. What does this all mean? What is the meaning and purpose of my life? Why am I here? Why do these things happen? Sagittarius is I don't know why there's a landline here, but Sagittarius is the external search for wisdom and knowledge. Pisces is the internal search for wisdom and knowledge. I need to reflect. I need to spend time alone. I need to go on a retreat. I need to meditate. I need to maybe even reach out with spiritual themes, for example. So these four signs, they help us to understand our world, to make meaning. And meaning is a very subjective word because you are the only person that can make meaning in your life. You're the only person that can fulfill your life. Nothing external will fulfill your life. Pisces, as the last sign of the zodiac, it's not a sign of matter in the material world. It's a sign of spirituality. Pisces is the bridge between our physical world and our non-physical world. It sort of prepares us for what's beyond. But Pisces isn't just the end of our life. Pisces symbolically is the end of the journey. And you can live Pisces in a day. You can live Pisces in a breath, meaning that exhale, that pause, that's Pisces. And then the inhale, that's Aries, new beginnings, taking that breath in. And so we can see that the zodiac isn't just, the literal seasons or even like these personality signs, but actually really talks about how our life is built. And so I wanted to spend some time talking about Pisces and the mutable signs because this eclipse, even though it's in Pisces, we can't forget about the other three mutable signs, especially because at the time of the eclipse, the sun will be in Virgo. So maybe you heard me say a few moments ago that Virgo, it's critical thinking, it's systems. Both Virgo and Pisces are the helping and healing signs. If you have a strong Virgo Pisces in your chart, you typically have an innate need to help, to heal. Well, these are your doctors, your nurses, your physicians, your herbalists, your yoga teachers, your massage therapists, but this also can come in a lot of different forms, serving and helping your community, and even for some to be of spiritual service. Of course, you are going to live these signs differently. They will form different parts of your life depending on your own personal astrology. And when we go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, we'll just refresh on what those two signs mean for you and your sun sign or your rising sign. Keep in mind that not only is the sun in Virgo, but Jupiter, maybe you remember, but Jupiter has been in Gemini since the end of May, around the 25th of May. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. I realize ruler is a technical term, but rulership just talks about how does the energy move around the sky, whether it's a new moon, a full moon, or an aspect. So speaking of which, as of today, Mercury, the ruler of Virgo, is now in Virgo. So the energy of Virgo season has now come back to its sign. And so we have the energy of new beginnings, initiative, forward movement. It pushes us forward. But at the same time, yesterday we had the Sun-Saturn opposition. We had a weekend where we needed to get real about something. We need to think about our future. We need to take on a responsibility. Maybe we're thinking about capital L life. Maybe we're thinking about the passing of time and what that means for us. Maybe that brings up heavy emotions. Of course, we're all different people. So now Mercury is in Virgo, and we're really feeling that push to go into the week. Jupiter is the ruler of Pisces. It's the traditional ruler of Pisces. So it's pulling the energy of the eclipse over to Gemini. Gemini is a mutable sign. Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023. So we've started to see that we have these grouping of big planets. Saturn takes 29 and a half years to go through the zodiac. It'll spend 3 years in a sign. Jupiter spends almost 12 years going around the zodiac. It'll spend about a year in the sign. But these two planets really talk about our external world and our external life. In general, they might be personal planets, depending on your sign. If you're a Pisces or a Sag, or if you are a Capricorn or an Aquarius. So we're going to see the energy of this full moon go over Gemini. So it says not only do we need to think about our spirituality, our meaning and purpose, trying to fulfill our lives, trying to come to the end of something, starting to, sorry, my light just went out. Get my train of thought. Starting to come to the end of something, trying to make peace. I think one of the hardest things about Pisces is that it really sometimes pushes us in a very subtle way to make peace with the past so that we can move on, so we can go into a new phase of our life. Gemini, on the other hand, is choices, it's ideas, it's information, it's weighing our options, it's curiosity. So there is a tension in this eclipse between needing to think about our life on a grand scale, Pisces, Saturn in Pisces, Neptune's also in Pisces, but it's a little bit of a separate conversation, but also needing to weigh our options and to think about which way are we going. Is it a yes or a no? Is it an up or a down? Is it a left or a right? Is it this way or is it that way? And sometimes our life can be, there really is not the big decisions. Sometimes it's the small decisions. We have, again, Mercury is in Virgo on the other side of the sky, and Mercury will oppose Saturn at the time of the eclipse next week. We need to make a serious decision. Serious decisions can simply mean I'm going to say yes, I'm going to show up, I'm going to commit. Or it can also be no, this isn't working for me anymore. This isn't in balance. This isn't in harmony with my life. Maybe more importantly, maybe it's just not in my value or my spiritual values. We will have the moon in Sagittarius today, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So we are having what's called a mutable cross in the sign. That's really sort of preparing us for these sort of bigger existential questions that are brewing around the time of the eclipse. I will say that, an eclipse, it's like the analogy that I've used, you've heard me say it previously, past few years, is that eclipses, they're like the stage of our life. It's like we are watching a theatrical performance and the curtain comes down on one act and there's that sense of anticipation, and then the curtain comes up in the next act. And sometimes there's new characters, there's a new scene, sometimes dramatically so, on the other side of the eclipse. The thing about eclipses also is that they're really funny in the sense that they can show up before the eclipse. I know it sounds crazy, but that's why I was saying, pay attention to June when the sun was in Gemini, because we are now 3 months before the Pisces eclipse, and also to pay attention to July. Because July is 3 months before the October 2nd eclipse in Libra. And so these may be months, depending on who we are, where things were happening. Like I moved in June. Not that I was like looking at the astrology and be like, when is the best time to move? But I moved because I needed to move. But it just happened to be like perfect with the eclipses. I'm Sagittarizing. I got Saturn in my whole sign fourth, about home and family. And sometimes there's a major move when Saturn is going through what's called the fourth, but that's just a personal example. So it's not to expect fireworks or major events. It really depends on the person. It depends on the chart. It probably depends on the story that's already been unfolding. But the last time we had eclipses in Pisces and Virgo was 2016, 2017. And then I believe before that was 2007 and 2008, 2006, 2007. I have to go back and look. So we have a repeat of the eclipse cycle every 9 years. And then every 18 and a half years, we have a full cycle. So we've been, in a way, reaching back towards 2004, 2005 with this past eclipse cycle, which is funny because in 2004, I moved to New York. And then here we are 19 and a half years later, or 18 and a half years later, and I moved back to Maryland, where I'm from, although it's temporary. I'm helping to take care of my dad. So anyway, eclipse seasons, I'm just a nerd for eclipses, so thank you for listening. I'm absolutely fascinated. I always look to see who's in the news around the time of eclipses or times that I know are big eclipse like check-ins, and it's absolutely fascinating. There's a lot of information that's out there, especially on astrodatabank.com. There's people's charts, and even just knowing people's birth dates, you can get a little bit of a line on like how the eclipses are playing out in their lives. So anyway, that's just me being an astrologer, armchair in the background. So anyway, that's really what's going on this week. Like I said, Mercury is now in Virgo. We're gearing up for an eclipse next week, and we have a bit of a dearth of aspects. It's really just the moon that is driving the story, but we should feel kind of a build up as we're going into next week. Finally, because I kind of said, Neptune's in Pisces, that's another conversation. If Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023, Neptune's been in Pisces since February of 2012. I know that's a long time. Neptune spends 14 years in a zodiac sign. Neptune's actually starting to get ready to leave Pisces. It will start to go into Aries in 2025, and then by 2026, it's fully into Aries. Neptune's a little bit more of a background effect. Neptune talks about our spiritual work, our collective and our personal spiritual work. And we've had a collective and personal spiritual work with Pisces since 2012. It's actually a much bigger conversation, but it may mean that with this eclipse, the eclipse that's going to be on September 17th is bringing up a lot of deep emotions. So just sit with it, stay grounded, create ritual and craft. The sun's in Virgo right now, Mercury's in Virgo, so it loves to like carve out time. It loves to create meaning out of simple gestures, or to be of service around this time, and really listen to yourself, and also to listen to your intuition, Pisces. So there you go. That's your look at the astrology of this week. And now we're going to go through each of the 12 zodiac signs, starting with Aries. Aries. So Mars is your planet, and Mars, as you may know, last week it went into Cancer. It's a bit of a change of season for you because Cancer represents your home and family, your roots, your foundation. It's time to focus on your home life, your living situation. Do not be surprised if there are changes in your household, or you have a desire to move, or at least to make cosmetic changes in your home life. But Mars is also getting into these deeper questions around emotional security, feeling like we are held, we are safe, and we are secure. This is all in advance of the eclipses to come. I know that we are going to have an eclipse next week, September 17th. This is in your 12th sign. The 12th sign is where we have seen Saturn since March of 2023. You're coming to the end of a great chapter of your life. one that may be, and depending on who you are, inspiring a need to reflect, to look back at the previous years, perhaps even decades, to clean out, to prepare for a new phase and chapter of your life. Maybe it's bringing up a lot of existential questions, a need to rest, a need to sort of pull away from the physical world and to start to feel into what's beyond this physical world. This eclipse on the 17th will activate Saturn. So there's been a story that's been brewing the past year and a half that Saturn now makes real, to make concrete. Whether it's your spirituality, whether it's existential themes, whether it's you needing to let go of something that's no longer serving you. Virgo season does talk about health and wellness. So we have this dynamic with the Virgo new moon to take care of your physical life, your physical body, but also to find the balance between your spiritual health, to take care of your spiritual bodies, and to find the balance between heaven and earth, quote unquote. And I will say, especially as we get very much closer to the October 2nd eclipse in Libra, that relationships in all forms and also the themes that connect us to relationship will continue to be increasingly front and center for you. Taurus. So Venus is your planet, and I believe since last week it has been in Libra. So this is a time that's really putting you towards, one hand, really looking at projects, looking at health and wellness, looking at work, really showing up in your day-to-day life, getting grounded. But Venus in Libra also is about relationship on some level, and maybe even, your relationship dynamics. And all of this is in advance of an eclipse to come in about 3 weeks. And even to look at beauty. Venus in Libra loves beauty, and how to create beauty in your day-to-day life, how to create ritual and craft and practice. With the eclipse on the horizon, for some Tauruses, this is about your health. Not all, but health, whether that is just a simple desire to eat healthy, or to get more fresh air, or to do something that's going to be a positive benefit for your physical and your day-to-day life. For some Tauruses, it is about service, helping other people, especially as you get into that lunar eclipse to come next week. It's going to be in your 11th. The 11th is community, it's society, it's social issues, social causes. I realize these are big, broad themes, but quite simply, we all have, hopefully, a sense of friends, a sense of belonging. And even if you're thinking, but I don't, that also might be coming up with the eclipse. How do you start to make friends, make community? You've had Saturn in what's called your 11th since 2023, March of 2023. To be honest, Saturn can be a little brutal when it comes to friendships. It does not like surface friendships. So perhaps the friends or community you had at the beginning of 2023 isn't who is in your life right now. So with sort of perhaps a call or a need to restructure or even to reevaluate friendships, now we have this eclipse that's a week away. And it's to make things real and to make things concrete. And maybe you've been wavering about a friendship or wavering about something around in your social circle, your social group, or maybe you just need to you want to be more involved in your community. You want to get involved in a social issue or social cause. And so this full moon that's in a week to come, this lunar eclipse that's in a week to come, is really starting to put a spotlight on your friends, your community, and maybe even some necessary changes that need to happen. Sorry, hold please. There's a landline in this house. Gemini. So Mercury is your planet, and it just changed signs today. It's now in Virgo. So this is actually, Mercury is going back to where it was at the beginning of August. We had a Mercury retrograde, I think, on August 4th or 5th or 6th or 7th, I can't remember. So this sort of brings us to the culmination of the need to walk back, need to reevaluate, a need to get new perspective. And maybe August and into in the beginning of September was a busy time for you, a time to go on trips, to travel, but also a time to see things from a different perspective. With that reevaluation, how do you make things real? How do you make things concrete? And how do you make things lived? So Mercury back in Virgo, it's starting to activate the energies of Saturn. You did have what's called a Sun-Saturn opposition yesterday. This is energy that's going to take you into this week and even next week. Life is a little bit capital L life at the moment. Capital L life means you can't cut corners. It's demanding more duties and responsibilities. I know that doesn't sound very fun, but we get to these junctures in our life where more is asked of us. We need to take on a role. We need to take the step up in our career. We sometimes even need to make changes in our career, or we need to make decisions that really speak to the broader structural themes of our life. Like, what am I building? Where am I going? Is this really what I want? And maybe I need to make some changes. Virgo season on a very surface level is a time to focus on your home life, your roots, your foundation, and to really reestablish your anchor point in life. With Saturn in your career sign, it's been there since March 2023. It will not fully leave until February 2026. You are in a period of your life where it's kind of like Saturn's asking you, what do you want to be when you grow up? So that's in the mix, especially this week. And then you will have a lunar eclipse next week. It is possible, Gemini, that you've already experienced the eclipse. I know that's just sort of the craziness of eclipses. They're not very linear. They will come in they'll come in before the eclipse and sometimes even after the eclipse. Maybe you've already seen the career change. Maybe you've already seen a change in direction or responsibility, or maybe you're starting to look at your life and you're sort of looking at your public life and needing to make changes, or maybe even just to show up and be the authority. Again, with especially with the Mercury opposite Saturn, with Jupiter square Saturn. Jupiter is a relationship planet. It also talks about your career. August, but also September and October are going to be really critical months for you, and one where you look back and you really see something taking shape and taking form. Cancer. Cancer, the moon is your planet, and the moon is we're really doing the talking this week, and the moon is going to go from Sag all the way to Aquarius this weekend. The moon in Sag, the moon in Sag means that you really start the week needing to focus on your day-to-day life. You need to get organized, you need to look at projects, you need to look at work, and maybe it's even about health and wellness as well. Then as you get to the middle of the week, the moon goes into your seventh sign of relationships. So really look at these relationship themes as you get into the middle and even end of the week. And this is, by the way, we've talked about this, is going to be a solar eclipse in Libra on October 2nd. And I know that it's September 9th as I record this, but you're probably already feeling the eclipse. Libra for you is your sign of home. It's family. It's your living situation. It's your past memories. It's that feeling, that emotional core, feeling safe and feeling secure. So with the moon highlighting relationship, with the moon also getting into the energies of the eclipse, you might start to feel that there is some pressure on your home life this week, pressure on relationships, pressure even on your career and your direction. Pressure isn't negative. It's just, think of it like this. If life was always like a flat line, it would just be easy. We wouldn't grow. We wouldn't really develop the necessary push to make things real and make things happen. But sometimes life is a little bit of an uphill climb, and you may find that this week that's beginning to happen. That said, the Pisces lunar eclipse, it's going to start to open up a chapter that, to be fair, has already been in play since last year. Saturn has been in Pisces since March of 2023. This is the thing about, and we talked about this, is that Pisces is your ninth sign. The ninth sign helps you to make sense of the world. It's higher education. It's education like degree. It's travel, foreign travel. It's trying to make sense of things, and even very like on a philosophical level. And for some, it is belief, it is faith, it is truth, it is meaning, and needing to get very real and concrete about what you believe in and what you stand for. That's not subjective, or it's not objective. Like, you can't quantify that. That's going to be very personal to who you are. But we are starting to, the case of your astrology, getting into a period of your life that goes into 2026 where you need to think about your education. You need to think about ideas and information, maybe publishing something, maybe sharing something, maybe teaching something, maybe getting involved in teaching, maybe traveling and exploring. But for you, Cancer, it's to see how this is relevant to your own life. Leo, the sun is your planet, so the sun has been in Virgo for about a couple of weeks. So when the sun is in Virgo, it's time to focus on your material life, whether it's your spending, whether it's your earning, whether it's the things that you have available to you, your goods, your resources, but also even these themes of value and worth. We had the Virgo new moon last week, and this is preparing us for the lunar eclipse to come a week's time. This will be in Pisces. Here's the thing: this is going to be different for every Leo. Leo, you've had Saturn in something called your 8th sign since March of 2023. The 8th, and this is the case for every sign of the zodiac, although for you it happens to be the sign of Pisces. It's a sign where we have to face ourselves. It's a sign where we have to go within. We have to do some digging. If you've ever been to a therapist, you've been, symbolically speaking, in the 8th room. And the 8th room is where sometimes those deep stuff that we haven't quite looked at start to bubble up. It does get into these deeper themes about life, change, transformation. Again, it's going to be different for every Leo. And also for some Leos, it is about money and finance, debt, the financial resources that you have available to you, sometimes through a partner or a marriage, or even through benefits, or even through an estate. So there is something about this full moon lunar eclipse that we have next week that will either touch on these deeper emotional themes, like, am I safe? Can I transform? I need to look at myself. Or for some Leos, it is very financial. The money and the assets, the property and the resources that I have available to me, and how that is connected, even through the debt that I carry, but also how that's connected to other sources. It could be a spouse, it could be an estate, or maybe you're even making estate planning and financial planning yourself. All of this is bouncing off bigger existential questions about what's truly of value and worth, and what do you truly need. We all are humans. We need a roof over our head. We need food in the kitchen. We need some form of material stability and security. But we all, beyond that, we all have our own needs. So it's using this eclipse to get very clear about your financial picture, what you need, your financial goals. And for some of you, you're getting a mortgage, you're buying a house, you're making investments, or maybe you're getting starting to really focus on what you need to do to clean up that part of your life, to maybe have those things in the future. Virgo, happy birthday, Virgo. You're a little bit of the ball at the moment. Mercury is your planet, and it's now back in Virgo. So you're going to spend the rest of your season with your planet back in its sign, and that gives you this push, this renewal, this sense to take action, and to maybe even take action on personal projects and initiatives. Here's the thing, Virgo, we've been talking about this. There's just a lot of build up in what are called the mutable signs. Hey, you are a mutable sign. And this means that we have build up, we have focus, we have changes, possibly in relationship. We have changes or focus in your home environment, your career, your public life, the role that you play in this world. So I've been saying this, and I'm kind of curious, Virgo, to see, like, how is this relevant for your life? Like, are you truly seeing this in your life? But at least the astrology is saying it's a very different second half of the year for you, One that's requiring you to step up into something, maybe to get into a serious relationship, or maybe to look at a serious relationship and try to figure out, how to make it work or not work. Maybe it's about your professional life, getting very clear about your goals, the role that you want to play in the world, the title that you want after your name, your ambitions, and maybe getting very clear about, quote unquote, what do you want to be when you grow up. So there's just a lot of pressure on you, Virgo. And I know you got this. You're a very capable sign. But don't forget, to find the balance. That's the thing. Like with Saturn in your seventh, especially with Neptune there as well, maybe it's always about other people and you've been putting people first. But with Mercury back in your sign, you have to strike the balance between the needs and wants of somebody else or other people and your needs and your wants. So this is a big eclipse that's on the horizon. It's the start of a series of eclipses that will bounce back and forth between Virgo and Pisces into 2026. It just says that Virgo and Pisces, Virgo rising, Pisces rising, that this is the start of a very dynamic period in your life. Dynamic means different things to different people. Go back to the 2016-17 time frame. Go back to the 2007, maybe it's 2006-2007 time frame, and to see, like, do you start to see a pattern? Do you start to see threads of connection, for example? Libra. So Venus is your planet and it's back home with you. So I think over the last week, it's been in your sign. So this is a renewal. This is a sense of new beginnings, a need to take initiative and a need to take action. This is all in advance of a solar eclipse that we will have in Libra. This will be in about 3 weeks. This will be, hey, you're Libra. And I think I said this the past few times, and I know a couple of people have commented like, yes, me too. But I feel like I can go through a list of Libra and Libra risings in my head. And it's like lots of big stuff. It's moves, it's, changes in relationship, it's changes in career. It's just like big stuff. And big stuff isn't bad, but we just have these time periods where life is a little bit capital L life at the moment. And it just happens to be where a lot of the action is happening is for Libra and for Aries. So really see, Libra, and maybe you've already started to notice, like, what is it that's going on in your life right now? Where do you see sort of the great wheel of your life beginning to change and move? Where do you feel the sense of new beginnings and new initiatives? If your birthday is on October 2nd, plus or minus a few days, the coming year will be in some way a big new year for you. The last time we had eclipses in Aries and Libra, apart from 2023, is 2014-15, and even back into 2004, 2005. I could keep going back. I'm just trying to not go back to infinity, but those are the most recent eclipses in Libra and Virgo. That said, we are a week out from a lunar eclipse in Pisces, and Pisces is your sign of health and wellness. And this means this is going to mean different things for different Libras or Libra risings. Maybe it's a time where you need to take your physical life seriously, whether that means cutting something out because it's just not good for you, or making positive changes in your day-to-day life, getting cleaned out, getting organized. Maybe there's just been something that you've been putting on the back burner and with health and wellness, but now you need to really bring it to the front burner. Here's my philosophy around Saturn in the 6th. Saturn has been in your 6th sign since March of 2023. Now the eclipses are going to activate Saturn. If Saturn is showing you that something's not working, like if you're from a diet nutrition standpoint, like your body is saying, hey, this actually doesn't work for me. Or you're like, maybe I shouldn't ignore that pain anymore. Or maybe I should just get more fresh air and something. Well, everybody's different, but of course we all have bodies, hopefully, unless you're a ghost. But this is a time where you can't neglect the physical body. You can't neglect your physical life. Again, this means different things for different Libra risings, but just don't, and I'm just putting my traditional astrology hat on for a moment, don't just go like this, oh, right, it's about health and wellness now. Like, you do it to take positive actions in your life because with the energy of Saturn very highlighted, it could sometimes mean like you're really getting to the bottom of something and like really being like, oh, that's what that is, and making the positive necessary changes. For some Libra risings, it's not health, it's work, trying to find a balance with your work life, or even to really find a sense of meaning and purpose and being of service. Scorpio, Mars is your planet. So since last week, Mars has been in Cancer. So we have what's called a double water signature. Scorpio, you are a water sign. Mars is a water sign as well. Water sign is driven by emotion, around feeling, around intuition, around, especially with Scorpio in relationships, really needing to feel a strong sense of intimate connection. Whether that's emotional, mostly emotional, sometimes it's physical. But Scorpio with Mars in Cancer, it's also picking up on Saturn in Pisces. Saturn has been in what's called your fifth sign, Pisces, since March of 2023. Saturn has been saying to you on some level, it's time to take yourself and take your talent seriously. You need to get clear about who you are and who you're not. You need to prioritize yourself, and I mean that in the best possible way, or you need to get back to the things that light you up and give you joy and give you passion, because you're burnt out and you need to sort of redistribute your energy. We will have an eclipse in Pisces next week. For some Scorpios and Scorpio risings, of course, this is not relevant to everybody. This is about children, whether it's your own children or starting a family and even pregnancy. Again, of course, it's not relevant to everybody, but this sometimes on a very classic level, Saturn eclipses can herald the birth of a child. And maybe if you don't want that, like you know exactly what to do, Scorpio. And maybe that you're using this energy to put towards a creative project as well. That said, with Mars crossing the nodes this week, it is squaring the nodes, and Mars rules you. There is whatever is going on in your life right now. It kind of gets into these deeper themes. It could be themes around action, taking action. Mars is in Cancer. Cancer, it gets into themes about belief. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? Being an advocate, fighting for what you believe in, not fighting for what you believe in, not standing up for what you believe in, or maybe not even sharing what you believe in. So there's some sort of turning point that's happening this week, next week. But again, I think it's all about this next phase and chapter of your life, getting very clear about, sort of your convictions, your truth, and what you want to share with the world. And again, taking yourself and taking your talents Sagittarius, Jupiter is your planet. So it's been in Gemini since the end of May. It'll be in Gemini until the end of May of 2025. So your life is very much focused at the moment. The energy of your life is focused on relationships. Gemini is your relationship sign. It is your seventh sign. So whether you are a Sagittarius sun or a Sagittarius rising, relationships come in a lot of different forms. For some Sag or Sag risings, this is just a time where there's just more things going on. There's more people in your life. It is more social. And for some Sag risings, there is the inkling to focus on a relationship, maybe to focus on an existing relationship, how you show up, how you connect, how you interact and socialize. And for some Sag rising, it is about bringing in new relationship. Here's the thing, Sag, there's just a lot of things going on in your astrology at the moment, and this is even taking you into 2025. I have been talking about this quite a few times all the previous weeks. You have Saturn, which is it's in Pisces, and Pisces is something called your fourth sign. The fourth sign forms the base and foundation of your astrology. It holds up your life. It talks about family. It talks about home, past, memories, your emotional security and stability, your emotional core, your household, your living situation. So with Saturn there, you are in a period that began in 2023 of settling down. I know that settling down means different things to different Sag risings, and maybe that's kind of like, oh, Sag doesn't like to settle down because it likes to, get on a plane and go to another country. Not all Sages, but you're in a phase of your life that's talking about anchoring in. Whether that means it's a move that has deeper significance, whether you are starting a life with somebody, starting a household, starting a family, or whether your own family or even your parents need more attention. Maybe you have made a move, maybe you're thinking about a move, maybe you're not thinking about a move. Of course, it's going to be different for each Sag or Sag rising. But with this eclipse next week on the 17th of September, it's now concretizing, it's activating this bigger story, this bigger chapter of your life. Eclipses are more, like Saturn is a long game, it's slow, and sometimes we really feel it. We can feel the weight of Saturn and sort of the seriousness of Saturn, but eclipses are typically immediate. They provoke us, they prompt us to take action. And so it's for you, Sag, to start to see, like, what is the story that's happening in your life, especially this week, next week. How is that connected to June? Because that's when we had 3 months before this lunar eclipse. And then the energy of the eclipse is pointing towards relationship. And this is where the energy is now focused on other people. Other people need your attention. They need you to show up. They need your commitment, your duty, and your responsibility. So it is a bigger chapter in your life right now, and it's for you to see what is taking shape and taking form, because Saturn plus eclipses mean that this is probably milestones are happening in your life this year into next year. Capricorn. So Saturn is your planet, and Saturn is like really in the focal point at the moment. So we talked about this last week, and as you probably know by now, Saturn, it's been in Pisces since March of 2023. So it's been bringing the energy of your sign towards Pisces, which is actually a very different sign than Capricorn. Capricorn typically is more about matter and the material world, is the things that you can touch, but Pisces is not matter in the material world. It is your non-physical world, is your emotional world. It's getting into these bigger questions around spirituality, faith, truth, and meaning, and maybe even the choices to put your life towards something that has more meaning and purpose. Of course, it's going to mean different things for different Sagittariuses. It might for Capricorns, it might also speak to that this is a time where education is very important, or needing to take your choices very seriously. With the Pisces full moon next week in the same sign as Saturn, which in a sense essentially is you, it's saying that there is something about this period that's been brewing for the last year and a half. Now it's coming to the forefront. Now it's demanding a choice. Now it's demanding action. And there's a sense of immediacy with the full moon and even a lunar eclipse. And this energy is pointing over towards Jupiter and Gemini. And I got to do my astrology right. Gemini is your sixth sign, whether that's health and wellness, whether that's projects, whether that's how you take care and prioritize your day-to-day life. So there's something about your real world life with this eclipse. Needing to put new systems in focus, needing to reorganize things, needing to gain a different perspective so that now your day-to-day life looks different. It might be education, it might be travel, it might also be health and wellness and service as well. But this eclipse, even though this eclipse is not in your sign, in a way it is putting a lot of emphasis on your sign, and maybe even some changes, and maybe even some big changes. All of this is in advance of the solar eclipse on October 2nd, and this is beginning to sort of also brew because we can see eclipses before the eclipses, with Mars squaring the nodes this week, and also Mars is in Cancer, which is your sign of relationships. There is something that's really kind of focused on relationship and maybe taking action and maybe making choices. And we will have that eclipse on October 2nd in Libra, and Libra is a career sign. So maybe you're thinking about the future, thinking about the directions that you want to take, and what do you need to sort of bring in your day-to-day life in order to make this time real. Aquarius, Saturn is your planet, and Saturn continues to be in Pisces. But here's the thing, Aquarius, is that we've got a lot of things going on in Pisces at the moment. So not only is Saturn your planet in Pisces, so this is overall, since 2023, a time to focus on your material life. Whether it's how you spend your money, whether it's how you earn a living, whether it's like, oh shoot, I don't have any money, I need to like work hard in order to like pay the bills, whether it's more philosophical, like why am I earning a living like this, and because it's not really important to me, or really getting into like I actually want to invest in the things that really nourish my life, nourish my spirituality, for example. Then we have an eclipse in this space. So the eclipse is activating with more of a sense of urgency, or more of a meaning. Let me step back for a second. Saturn moves slowly. Saturn takes 3 years to go through a zodiac sign. So the story that it's playing out typically is a slower story. We don't sort of see it with that sort of sense of immediacy and urgency that we do with an eclipse. An eclipse, it happens, it can open up a 6-month chapter. It's part of a weaving of story that goes over 18 months, but a lunar eclipse typically demands more attention. So there is something about money and income that now comes to the forefront. It sort of demands attention. We need to make a decision, whether that means getting a mortgage, buying a house, whether it's selling something, whether it's related to your income, or even into these bigger questions about value and worth. With the energy of the eclipse pointing over towards Gemini, which is your fifth sign, it gets into these bigger questions about identity and who you are and how you express yourself, and even the value of your talents and how you take your talents seriously. And maybe sometimes the monetary value you put on your talents, but maybe even that sort of non-tangible value that we put on our talents. Like, how do you value your time and how you use your time and how people take your time, for example. All of this is even taking you into the end of this month and even into the next eclipse that will be in Libra. And Libra is something called your 9th sign. So this is a lunar eclipse on October 2nd that talks about travel and exploration, a need to see distant lands, to foreign travel, or maybe even to travel on long distances. And maybe it's even getting into these bigger questions about faith and truth and meaning and what you believe in and what you stand for. Finally, Pisces. So I know it's not your birthday, but there is a lot going on in your sign. And in fact, you are in the spotlight. So it's Virgo season. Virgo season means it's 6 months from your birthday, or even 6 signs away from your rising sign if you're Pisces rising. But it means that on the sort of a baseline level, that the focus is on relationships at the moment. Other people need your attention. Your current relationships need your attention, or you are meeting somebody, new people are coming into your life. And even though the new moon a week ago wasn't an eclipse, but we will actually have in 2026 eclipses in Virgo. So this is sort of like a precursor or a presaging of maybe even stuff to come in 2025. New beginnings in relationship, new people coming into your life, maybe even a serious relationship, or relationship changes for those that are currently in a relationship. Saturn is in your sign. It's been there since 2023. So it's just been a little bit capital L life for my Pisces and my Pisces rising. Capital L life typically is a time that demands more responsibility, more showing up, more authority to sort of grow up. Even you could be 80 years old, but life is going to ask you at different stages to quote unquote grow up and to sort of mature into this next stage of your life. And maybe you have seen milestones in your life over the past year and a half, whether it's new beginnings, whether it's something, maybe it's a move, maybe it's something else. So we're going to have an eclipse in Pisces next week. So these themes that have been in the background for the last year and a half are going to start to come to the forefront. Needing to stand on your own 2 feet, needing to be the leader, needing to be the person that people look up to, or the person that has the responsibility. That might be, for some Pisces or Pisces rising, how the eclipse is playing out. The eclipse is also pointing towards your home environment, and maybe that may mean I need to be the authority in my household. I need to maybe take care of a parent, or maybe even to become a parent, or need to sort of sort out some big things about the home environment, your living situation, and quote unquote, where is home and who is home. These are big themes, and even with Virgo, the Mercury in Virgo now, and Mercury coming up to an opposition to Saturn next week at the time of the eclipse, this may even involve a major decision or something about your career or something about the direction of your life. So this eclipse is sort of playing off the 4 directions of your life, especially with the moon in Sagittarius, your career sign, this week. So really, to see Pisces rising, you'll have to let me know. It's a little bit dynamic. A lot of things, a lot of personal milestones and achievements are likely happening in your life right now. So anyway, that is your look at the astrology for, September 9th through 15th, 2024. Sorry, my light went out. I should have plugged it in. So yeah, I will see you all next week. Thank you. I know I see some familiar faces. So, this has been your look at the astrology, and also to prepare us for eclipse season. So you can follow me online on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Spotify. I'm on YouTube. You can book a consultation with me. I know some of you actually who are watching are my clients. I know that you watch the replay. I know you're my Tuesday club. I know you book consultations with me. You're like, oh, I've been watching you for a long time. So I deeply appreciate you all. And get in touch with me so we can see how these eclipses are playing out in your astrology. So I will see you all next week. And until then, take care. Bye-bye.